Hey, I want to give you a quick little demo on gasIO. gasIO is a import-export command line tool for Google Apps Script. It uses the execution API um, that from Google Apps Script, and on the client side, it is a small native application written in D. So, first thing we want to do, let's check out the source code for gasIO. And so we're going to start out, let's make a directory. We'll call it gasIO project. Let's go in there. So now we can actually use the gasIO tool to get the gasIO source. So let's take a look at the command line options. You can use double stab help. We'll bring up all the command line options that you could use. This tool can pull a script down from Drive, and it can push a script up to Drive. And there's lots of different options that you can pass to add some granularity of what you want. So let's start out by let's just get the gasIO project and save it to this directory. So what we're going to do is we're going to call gasIO, and we're going to get, and the file name is going to be gasIO. So if you're downloading a gasIO project, you can just pass the file name and it will grab the first script of that. Or if you have the script ID, you can pass it under the file ID tag or -i, and it will get that specific one. But in this case, I'm going to pass the gasIO, so it's just going to grab the first script it finds with the name gasIO. We'll see what happens. Alright, so now we see done. So we can list out what's going on. You can see that there's a src directory, and that's not something it does here. That's actually coming from the script itself. If you look at the script right here, I actually have my file names src/server/gasio.gs /iolibrary.gs, and then I have some other little test files in here for testing. So you can actually put directories right into the names of your scripts, and you can either do this through the directory structure, which I'll show you how to do when you do a recursive push, or you can just create them right into the name of your gas file, and it will break it down and put it into directory structure for you. So if you look at here, we go into the source directory. So we're now in the source directory, dir. You'll see that there's an app client server, and that comes from over here, where it breaks that down for you. So now let's check out the client first. Let's go into the client, and it's written in D, so we could just take a look at it at the console. So it's a big file, so you can see that it's downloaded the gas file. It's written them all out to the directory, and you can actually see that the files here exist. Or we can go over to, we're now in the source folder. We'll take a look at the server code, and we'll see that there's right there gasio.gs, so we can type that out and see this is the code from the Google Apps script for the execution API side of the thing. So you can see there's a push function, and there's a get function, and there's some other helper functions in there. So we can see the script has been pulled down to the local machine, and because it had directory structure built into the names, it built out that directory structure for you. And you'll see that when you pull a file down, that you'll get this little file called script info, and that basically it just has all the header information and some metadata that we need to do the importing and exporting to make sure that files go where they need to go. So let's say, for example, that this project does not have a README. If you look, there's no README on here. So let's say we wanted to add a README to this project right here. We could let's see, we can go echo, hey, echo, this is the README for gasIO, and we're going to send that to README Markdown. So we see that's there. So now what we can do is we can go gasIO, and we're actually going to do a push, and we want to tell it to go, because we have it broken down in directory structure, we're going to tell it to go recursive. So -R is, you can always refer back to the help. So we can say we can either do a, well, I guess there's two options the way you can do the command line options. There's short and there's the verbose. So you could do a double stab push, or you can just do /single stab P, and you'll see that those are right next to each other in the options, in the option menu. So we're going to tell it to push. We're going to tell it to go recursively, because we want to make sure that it adds all the directory structure below this folder. And we want to make sure that there are additional files that we want to push up. By default, it'll grab anything with the extension of GS for Google Script, HTML, JS, or CSS. So if you want to add anything additional, you have to use the add ext or the -A option. So we want to make sure I have my my D file in there. So we're going to say we want to make sure we add all D source files, and also we just made that README, so we wanted to make sure we add the all markdown files. And then we don't have to specify what it's going to go to, because we're just telling it to do a simple push. It's going to look into the meta file that we wrote, the script info file, and it's going to know where to push this. So we're going to run this real quick. Creating script on drive. Alright, it has been written to that file. So now let's come over here, do a refresh on here, and we'll see, there it is. This is a README file from gasIO. Alright, so you can see that we can push files to it, we can pull files down, and that's pretty much all we need. So now, now that we have a file down here, I've already created a small little, a repository over on GitHub. So now we could do something like, we can now do a git init. Let's see, we can add everything. We can create a new commit. Well, this is the initial commit. Alright, so let's create so now let's say let's git remote add origin, and then the origin is this little, just cut and paste it over here. There's the little repo that I made on GitHub. And let's see, let's get push the thing, git push, and we're gonna say origin, push it to master, and I haven't authenticated, so let's do this. And there it is, it's pushed up. So now if we were to run over to my GitHub right over here and look at my repositories. Oh, I got a gasIO repository. And there it is. Here's the README I did push the script info because I didn't put any ignores on there, so I'll grab that. But you know, you can always add that to your get ignore and not push that up. All it has is just metadata about your script project here. Here's the source. Here it breaks it down by your directories, and now all your files. So here's if you have a client, you know, web app attached. Here's the client. Here's my gasIO.d. So that's all been pushed up. Here's the source. This is the source code for the client, and now here's all the server code. You know, it's still under GS. So if you don't know this, .gs is recognized by GitHub and it prints it all pretty, just as though it's JavaScript. And that's a very basic overview of what gasIO can do. So from the command line, you can grab a script, save it locally, make some changes, push it back up, and that allows for using, basically now you just use git at the command line, so to do your importing and exporting of your projects. So nothing fancy, just your just standard old git to do that. There's a lot of other options. Let's see. Let's clear this out. So, for example, when your git and push are your basic options of what you're going to choose, of what you're going to do. We saw how we used the recursive to grab all the directory structures and add it to your script. We saw how you use the add ext to add extensions that you want pushed up. Let's see. What are some other interesting ones? File ID. So let's do this. We can do a copy of, say for example, we're sitting here and we have this, we're in our script folder right here, and we want to make a copy of this on our drive. Let's say for example that we let's do that as an exercise. Let's do this live. So we're gonna do, let's make a directory and we'll call it git gas, right? Git gas is a tool by Bruce, and let's see, I think I have it. I have it forked on my side here. Yeah, or gasket, that's what it is, by Bruce McPherson. So here it is right here. Here's the link to it. So what if we were to do something? We could do something like git clone. We're in our git gas. It's called gasket, so it's a little different. So we're going to clone this repository here locally. So we can see that that's right here. So we can go into gasket dir. So here's the root of his. So now we could do something like gasIO. We're gonna push. We're gonna specify a file name, and we're gonna call this what does he call it? Gasgit. Let's just call this copy of gasgit, and we want to make sure that we add recursive, and we just want, let's see, let's just take a look, see if he has any weird file names. Scripts, he names everything .js and not .gs. Ah, he does. Well, that's going to cause an issue, because I'll push it up and show you why. So we're gonna call that recursive, and let's send this up. So creating script on drive. Because I forgot to specify new file. recursive. It said file not found by that name. It's because it didn't exist. So I want to specify the -n, which is new file, or I can do double slash slab stash stab double stab, yeah, new file. Either way, -n or double stab new file. When now we push it up, creating script on drive. That didn't work. Cool. New file, push, recursive, invalid argument. Oh, maybe double stab new file is not what it was called. Let's just do -n. Let's try that. No documents found by that name. Maybe I don't know my own options here. If you're still with me, thanks. I wouldn't expect you to be here with me at this point. Let's see. Because it is not -new file, because I changed that -new file. It's actually double stab copy, so it's -c is the option. So now we're going to create scripts on drive. And it's written to copy of gasket, and there's the file ID. And we could verify this by let's see. Yeah, I'm going to show you my drive. I don't think weird in here, I don't think. Recent, and there it is, copy of gasket. And we can pull it open. And here's the entire library. So you're going to see that this is where I'm going to run into problems, is if people are changing the extensions from GS to .js, because my code does not change, doesn't goof around with the extensions. It handles a .gs as a surf file and a .js as an HTML file. So this is one of the issues that you run into with the import-export, because of all the weird naming conventions that it uses. It changes file names, it adds file name extensions, and removes them in the IDE. It does a lot of weird stuff that you have to kind of work around, because it's not a very good API, the AppScript import-export API. And so people do these weird things, such as calling it .js. So maybe this is a new option that I'll add. So, but you can see that we just now cloned a Git repository, and we've now pushed it up. We've now pushed that repository up into our own drive. And since it is an actual cloned repository, we could go and take a look, and we could say like git logs, and we can actually see all the millions of logs that go into these tools, and we can start actually working with these. We could check out a new branch, we can make some changes, and we can push it back up. And so now we got collaborative programming with the Google Apps Script, just using Git and Git integration. So that is a little bit of an overview of the gasIO tool. The source code is now up there because you just watched me push it up there. The source code is at my GitHub at gasIO, and this tool obviously is very much in development. And if there's options you would like to see, or if something just doesn't make sense, let me know. All right, thanks.